Welcome to INSZN's College Football Show. I am Braxton Wilks, joined with co-founder Christian Berry. We are going to talk today another special player diagnosis. We're looking at Baylor Bears quarterback Sawyer Robertson, coming off a big win against UCF for homecoming. I was in attendance, and Sawyer looked great, but the Baylor Bears looked to form again. So that was phenomenal to watch, fun to watch. But let's get right into talking about Sawyer.
Yeah, so I'm having a little bit of trouble kind of breaking down what's changed with Sawyer from last year to this year. I know that the Baylor fans, we all kind of thought the Heisman hopeful conversations were going to happen. He was a dark horse early in the season. He was leading passing yards through the first 7 or 8 games. 0 interceptions for the first 2 games, and it kind of flipped quickly. And I think when I'm looking at him from an analytical perspective, what's really changed, and I think it shows up less in the data, but he has changed his ability to run the ball. And I think that the Baylor fan base noticed this, the staff noticed this, but last year when the pocket was collapsing, he was able to utilize that dual threat ability to get out of the pocket and run for 6, 7, 8 yards with the ease. This year, it's changed a little bit. His decision-making has been more of that pro-style quarterback, and we've seen flashes of greatness with him, being able to utilize that pro-style quarterback, but it really has taken his, running ability out of the game, making him a little bit more one-dimensional. When we look at his games on a, overall across the season, highly volatile. His worst game this year was against TCU, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, accuracy rating of 62.5%. 52 attempts, 25 completions, just not a great game. He was making poor decisions. He was turning the ball over at a higher rate than we've seen all year and over the past 2 years. When we look at like turnover worthy plays that do result in turnovers or plays that should have resulted in turnovers. But he has a great receiving core, and the pocket's collapsing a little bit quicker than I think it was last year. So there is a little bit of a different dynamic than we're looking at from year over year. But just a high level perspective, I think the main difference is he's just less consistent from a quarterback standpoint, not as accurate, not able to utilize that dual threat ability as much as he was last year. And he's turning the ball over at a higher rate than he was. That's kind of what I'm seeing just from the highest level analytics. But what do you want to break into that will kind of define a little bit more clearly what's going on?
Yeah. One thing that you kind of hit on, that TCU game, and I know if you're just checking the box score on that game, you're thinking, wow, it's a 6-point game, 36-42. Yeah. That is a game that TCU had in hand. Obviously, there were 3 or 4 rain delays and all of that, and it was exciting at the end. I don't think anyone at home got to watch it because of the way coverage worked out and all of that. But really a 6-point game, but closer to a 20-point game.
20-point, that's exactly what I would say with that.
Versus the Auburn game, which is 24-38, is a 14-point game that really felt like a 7-point game.
It always felt like a one-possession game that could have gone one way or the other. I agree.
And one thing I want to point out with Sawyer, and this has been kind of an ongoing thing for the Baylor Bears, but the pass block just of Baylor in general has been not up to kind of standards, and that really I think has changed the way that Jake Spavital is calling the offense, and Sawyer is able to play in the offense because of just those changes. You also hit on Baylor's receiving core. I mean, Michael Trigg, he's a highlight reel. He's just a walking, talking highlight reel. He's phenomenal. Every game he has a one-handed catch or something that you just look at each other and go, did he catch that?
Yeah.
And he always does, because his hands must be huge. And then Josh Cameron, Kobe Prentice, Ashton Hawkins. I mean, they have a phenomenal receiving core. And that, if you're a Baylor Bears fan watching this, that is the reason that this year has been so frustrating. Is the amount of talent that you have on offensively. Haven't even touched on running backs, but Bryson Washington, Caden Knighton, Michael Turner. You have a deep running back room, deep wide receiver room, a stud tight end, stud quarterback. And that has been kind of the reason for the woes, and the reason that this season as a Bears fan has been so depressing is that they just have not played up to the caliber that we thought.
The talent they have, exactly. And they're not, their offense is performing well. I don't think you need to take that away and say, hey, the offense has been abysmal this year. They have the talent. They've put it together. Some games better than others. The defense, I think, has been an issue. I mean, take away the UCF game. They allowed 41 against Cincinnati, 42 against TCU, 34 against Kansas State in their last 3, minus the UCF game. So, the defense hasn't been great either. So I think that, you can chalk it up to one thing or the other, but I think the talent from the offense has been kind of the main, frustration with the Baylor fan base, and saying, hey, we should be much better than we are. We should be much better than our current record, but we're not. We're 4-4. And, we can turn this around through the end of the season. Sorry, 5-4, but we can turn this around to the end of the season, make it 8-4. But, the last 3 games aren't necessarily gimmicks, especially against Utah in, I guess, 2 weeks from now. But why don't we break down Sawyer last year versus this year? I think that will provide us a little bit more perspective and saying, hey, is there anything else we can distill down from this, either the Baylor offensive line, the offensive, schema they've been running, the packages they've been running, to see if there's anything else from the analytical perspective that's kind of driving a lot of the difference.
Yeah, and while you pull that up, I just want to hit on a few things. And this is really where, statistics can kind of be deceiving. Looking at just, you highlighted the 41, 42, 34. Defensively, obviously that's not great, but defense also is not being put in position sometimes to succeed. 17 turnovers so far for the Baylor Bears. Some of those obviously are interceptions from Sawyer, a fumble here or there. But so it's not only on Sawyer, but defense is not getting takeaways, and the offense is turning the ball over a lot. That kind of swings to where offense is not able to sustain drives to put up more points, and defense is put in bad positions to give up more points.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Other thing, kind of briefly, I wanted to talk about, statistically, the offense has played really well. I take out the turnovers that I just talked about. In a lot of games, outgaining opponents. I mean, Auburn outgained them by 120. SMU outgained them by 100. Outgaining opponents by a lot. But not able to convert some of those drives into points, and then some of the other drives you're giving the ball away and allowing the defense the other team's offense to put up points. So let's talk about Sawyer real quick from year to year.
Yeah, I've gotten rid of some of the metrics that are not on a game-by-game basis. But if we just look at kind of the core metrics that I look at when I'm evaluating quarterback from the highest level, completion rate, accuracy, time to throw, turnover-worthy play rate, big-time play rate, and QBR, it's pretty consistent with last season. And actually, there's an outlier with big-time plays happening at, about 1.2% more of the time. There's not much of a difference between Sawyer this year and last year from the passing perspective. Completion rates, around 61, 62%, accuracy around 70%, time to throw roughly the same. So there's not huge takeaways from his passing ability last year and this year. So I think it does kind of speak a little bit more to, hey, the offensive line is not allowing him to get that second and third look as quickly as he was last year. He's kind of having to scramble around a little bit more. And, when you take away his running ability, or when he's not running the football, able to get yards on the ground, it makes him a more one-dimensional quarterback, when really last year he was thriving, kind of being that dual threat, not necessarily a dual threat quarterback, but having that second dimension of being able to run the ball for the first down.
Yeah, no, I agree. And to that point, it seems, just watching all the games, it seems that Sawyer has taken notes of that.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
I think it sounds like the coaching staff has told him to run more and to run for that. And he has. I mean, in UCF, I can remember a big time 3rd and long run that he had. Pocket collapse, got out of the pocket and was able to run for a first. And then even scrambling ability, things that kind of a lot of times don't show up on the stat sheet, but had some big time scrambles, was able to kind of scramble out, avoid a sack, get the ball to Caden Knighton for a big a big gain as well. So yeah, Sawyer has played phenomenal. He played phenomenal last year. Obviously, the turnovers are not what we would want in our quarterbacks and all of that. But I think a lot of that has to do with what we've already talked about, offensive line and just pressing. A lot of those, I know TCU game, he had a few, those looked like kind of pressing, trying, especially the last interception, almost garbage time, even though it was a 6-point game, but get the onside kick and throw an interception as you're trying to go deep out to get some yards and give your team a chance. You can almost, it's not a great throw, wasn't a great decision, but it's kind of pressing a little bit because of the situations you've been put in.
Yeah, I agree with that. Awesome.
And, well, I know this kind of started out as a Sawyer video, all of it, but also became a Baylor Bears diagnosis as well. So if you're a Baylor fan, please comment, follow, like, subscribe, check us out on X and Instagram, and then check out INSZN.co or INSZNCFB.com. We'd love to hear from you, and we will see you next time.
Thanks.